Welcome to another episode of Thriving by Nature with Bethany Stone. I'm your host, Bethany Stone, and today we're going to be talking about hope. If you've been following my podcast, you'll know I'm not a consistent podcaster. I try to be, but life is crazy, and that's okay. I love the crazy, and I podcast whenever I can, and I love it. And I hope that you enjoy them too. Today we're talking about hope and what that is. So, first, I want to start off with some science behind hope. So, there is neurological and psychological studies that actually show that hope improves your health, reduces stress, and enhances resilience. When I think about an opportunity or a time that hope actually played a role in really changing resilience, I think about the Holocaust. This is a hard time in world history where we literally forgot humanity. We forgot that people are human and it doesn't matter about the color of your skin, your religion, any of the things that we do to label and to pigeonhole people. Those things we forgot. And we forgot that you bleed red just like me, regardless of anything else. And in that time, those survivors that survived the Holocaust, they had hope. You go back and you look at all of those different interviews, and every single one of them talk about the hope that they had for another day, just one more day. They can make it just one more day. When you have hope, it does change things. Recently, my son, who he has been sick. And if you follow any of my podcasts, even the ones I'm on a guest with, you'll have known that I have talked about my son before on other people's podcasts. They've asked me why I switched from teaching for 24 years into coaching. And I will talk about my son. He was the reason why, because I had a school. I opened up a private school, was successful, goes all the way up through high school, sold my school, and transitioned into coaching because I'm a teacher. That is who I am. I don't know how not to teach. This is the core of everything I am. And my son got sick with mitochondrial dysfunction disorder, which affects his electric transport chain number 3, which is his large leg muscles. And he was a cross country runner, and he went from running cross country to not being able to run, not being able to run at all. Like, so much so that he was nearly paralyzed, where we would have to carry him to bed. There's many nights we would have to carry him to bed or assist in many things. He was 15 when this happened, and he would have to leave school. I'd have to come pick him up, or my husband would pick him up, and we'd have to bring him home. And how it worked is if he slept and his cells had enough rest and had enough nutrients, he would be able to walk. And then slowly throughout the day, he would be able to stay upright, but then have tremors. And he would use a cane, a walking stick. And then from tremors, his legs would just give out, and then he wouldn't be able to walk. And that was like the progression that we lived with every single day until we figured this out. It took years to diagnose. It took years to figure out, but my son was the greatest example of hope that I have ever had. He is the most optimistic, God-centered child in the world. He definitely was a gift from God. And he taught me a lesson. He taught me an amazing lesson about hope. He taught me that it doesn't matter how much energy you have in a day, as long as you have another day. There were times where he would ask me, Mom, if you only had, 3 hours of energy a day, what would you do? What would you do if you only had 3 hours of energy a day? And I thought about that a lot. If I only had 3 hours in a day, I don't know what I would do. And when I asked him this question, he said, I've been thinking about this too. I want to make sure that I spend that time in the most important ways to me. And that was with his family, with God, and trying to increase his health. And here we are 3.5 years later, and we have had no episodes of this. We've been able to figure out his health. There has been a lot of prayers, a lot of fasting, a lot of hope in trying to have him recover and hoping for that. No, he's not all the way better. Yes, he has to take many, many supplements and a lot of things to be able to work. And he still has bad days and he still has good days. He has so many more good days than bad days. And if he would not have had this hope and this resilience, I don't know if he would be where he is today. He actually, his senior year, he was able to go back to school, which was really cool because that first trimester was really difficult, but he kept on with the hope and he kept going and kept going. And he would get better and better. And he started recognizing and understanding his body, knowing when he needed to take breaks, setting those boundaries, and really being able to thrive. Well, during his senior year of class, he decided that he wanted to take a Holocaust class. I learned a lot. I went on the Holocaust trip with him, and we went and we toured different Holocaust buildings and just the history of that terrible incident that happened. And it really impacted him, which was hard. It was really hard because when you have such a tender child who just stress really, really affects him. And having to hear these stories made him so sad that it would stress his body and he wasn't able to walk. And he would go through this, but he knew that he needed to learn this because he wanted to understand hope on a different level. Well, for his Holocaust project at the end of senior year, he decided to take one of his prized creations that he had made in a Holocaust, or no, not Holocaust, in his ceramics class for his Holocaust class. And he had made a beautiful vase. And this vase, he had painted it many different colors and everything to represent all of humanity, everything. And it was beautiful. And then he broke it on purpose. And he put it back together with gold pieces. And he lost some of the pieces. And it's not fully whole. This vase represents hope. And he even said, I wanted to show something that even when things are dashed and you feel like your life is in pieces, the beautiful thing is that you can put yourself back together and you can hope for that. And when you do, you are beautiful. And he said, even though it's not perfect like it was before, now it's more beautiful because it's sealed together with gold. This vase I have sitting in my front room. It doesn't hold water, but it is beautiful. And every time I see it, I think about the hope that we have for so many things in life. And even though our life isn't perfect, even though things are in pieces at time, if we keep going one day at a time, continue to progress one day at a time, slowly, our lives are going to be stitched together with gold. And people are going to be able to see that, and we're going to be able to shine through. What a beautiful message and lesson I was able to learn from my son. There's so many examples of hope. One of the things that I thought was really interesting is as I was like, I always try to research a little bit more. Like when I'm thinking about, oh, I want to do a podcast on this. Oh, I want to do a podcast on this. I think of different stories of hope. And I like to share stories. And if you've listened to my podcast, I do teach through stories. But there was a quote that I thought was so beautiful. This is one. It says, Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tunes without the words and never stops at all. So Emily Dickinson said that. And I thought that that was beautiful because hope is fragile, but it continues. And as long as you can continue it, you will progress. So there's many different difficulties that we have in our lives. I encourage you to keep hoping, keep looking forward. Sometimes we have the habits in our lives to create our mountains. Sometimes, I don't know if you've heard of the expression creating a mountain out of a molehill. Sometimes we just take little things and we build and we build and we build and we create our mountain. And as we create our mountain and trying to control so many things around us, we're not really progressing. We're just adding to us. I know that for me, I would like to climb a mountain. I do climb mountains in real life. I love to go backpacking and climb mountains. And there is some kind of a magic that happens when you do that. When you climb mountains, you know it is hard. It is so hard to go from 5,000 feet up to 12,000 feet and to consistently walk, consistently take that 20 pounds of weight that you have on your back and trudge up this mountain. And every step that you take, you know you're getting closer. There's so many things that I tell myself when I feel like I need to give up. Just one more step. Every step is progress. Anything is better than stagnation. I tell myself these things to help motivate me, but I find myself also telling me these things when life is hard. This is hope. I've been to the top of a mountain, a real mountain. And when you look around at that top of the mountain and you can see where you've come from and how far you've come, there's a feeling that is indescribable. Whether that is a real mountain or whether that is just a mountain that you have in your life with a challenge. When you're able to look back and look at how far you've climbed, you feel so full of life. You know that you can conquer any mountain. So keep hoping, keep moving forward. Every step is progress. Just don't stay stagnant. And even if it's a tiny step, that's worth it. Thanks again for joining me today. I'm Bethany Stone, and if you are interested in checking out more about me, you can check out my website at thrivingbynature.com, or you can even type in bethanystone.com and it will lead you to my website. And if you want to join me and spend some one-on-one real time, I will be on my website. I currently have a special going on. I'll be hosting a self-care cruise, river cruise in Europe, and it's for 8 days. And so details are on my website. I'm really excited about it. I also currently have a downloadable journal on my website as well. So if you want to learn just a small life skill, you can go ahead and download my journal. And I'm really excited for just continuing on with these podcasts, and I hope to hear from you soon.